Welcome to the ParentLife Podcast. My name is Jason Stanland. I'm the middle school pastor here at Fruit Cove Baptist Church in Jacksonville, Florida. This is week 2 of a mini-series that we are hosting about what are Baptists and specifically what are Florida Baptists. And as part of that, we have Dr. Tommy Green, who is the Executive Director Treasurer of the Florida Baptist Convention. And so he gives leadership to the Florida Baptists and the churches that partner in that association. So thank you so much for being again with us for week number 2.
Thank you, Jason.
So again, what we want to do is we want to talk about the missions of the Florida Baptists, what they're doing, and again, how our families can participate in that. So just can you give us a quick synopsis of the Florida Baptist Convention and what are some of the accomplishments that we've seen even in the last maybe 5 years or so?
Sure. Yes, Jason, Fruit Cove Baptist is a part of the Florida Baptist Convention, a very key leader in the Florida Baptist Convention in many different ways. One is through your giving through the cooperative program. You're one of the Fruit Cove is one of the top churches, not only in the Florida Baptist life, but also in Southern Baptist life. Not that anybody's looking for a pat on the back or anything like that, but Fruit Cove Baptist would be in the top 1% of all churches in the Southern Baptist Convention as it relates to your commitment to missions, your commitment to the work of the cooperative program and things of that nature. And so this church has that DNA, it has that heartbeat. And so within the Florida Baptist Convention, we exist to serve the churches, not the churches to serve us. And so in so doing that, we believe that we need to come beside the churches and resource them. And so what are churches doing that we can come be a valuable partner with them? And so we basically have totally reset the convention to be able to operate in that fashion. The state convention is the gatekeeper of the cooperative program because Fruit Cove will send their cooperative program gift to the Florida Baptist Convention. And so the convention as a whole makes a decision in regard to the percentages of how those dollars are divided between the state and between the National Southern Baptist Convention. And so our feeling is that we believe we want to send more away than we keep in the state. And so every dollar that comes into the Florida Baptist Convention, 51% of that is forwarded to the Southern Baptist Convention.
Half.
More than half, yes.
More than half.
And then 49% remains, in the state to do the work that we do here.
Which is pretty unique, right? There's not a lot of conventions that do that.
Yeah, we were the first convention to kind of do it, and a few others are working toward it. They're not quite there yet, but they're working toward it. But it's a huge game changer. I mean, you talked about a 5-year window. So let's say in the last 5 years, Florida Baptist churches have given $145 million through the cooperative program. Wow. We have been able to advance $77 million of that forward to the Southern Baptist Convention. When we changed the formula to the 5149, sending 5149, just to kind of give a context of what that means, had the formula remained the same as it was prior to our starting this 5 years ago, that would have been $18 million less.
Wow.
So we're able to advance $18 million more to the SBC just by a formula.
Right, and that goes to where?
That goes to the International Mission Board. 50% of it does. So out of that additional $18 million, that was $9 million more to put missionaries on the field. So percentages do make a difference. So, but of the $77 million, over 50% of that would go to put missionaries around the world. Around 23% of it goes to North American Mission Board, and then that same percentage goes to our seminaries, but it's divided among the seminaries based on FTEs, full-time equivalent students. And so there's a formula that determines how much each seminary gets, but it typically makes up about 20-something% of the CP dollars that come in. And then there's an amount that goes to the ERLC and some to the executive committee to do their work. And so but the biggest bulk of it goes to the IMB, the North American International Mission Board, North American Mission Board, and our 6 seminaries.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I love being a Florida Baptist because we are just so unique being able to do that, send so much of our money away, just giving it away for the sake of missions, for the sake of our missionaries across the world and here in the North American Mission Board. So recently, within the last year, you have led the Florida Baptist in what you call Challenge 2025, which I think is a fantastic vision. So can you walk us through what are the main points of that and what are the main highlights there?
Yeah, there are 6 areas basically in Challenge 2025. And again, all that we do is simply to find out what churches are doing and help them do it better, or to partner with them, for more resources. And so the 6 areas, the first is church planting, okay? In the last 5 years, there have been 284 churches planted in Florida.
Wow.
But churches plant churches, not the convention.
I love it.
So we come to churches and help with them. Out of the 284 that have been planted, 4 of them became something other than Southern Baptist. A few of them didn't make it and shut down. So 262 of those are still existent. So 92% of all the churches that have been planted in the last 5 years by churches are still active, still going. For example, you have the Refuge Church here with Josh, and so we partner with you, and we changed our way of partnership a couple of years ago with the North American Mission Board, and we talked with them and we said, hey, we want to help churches all over the state of Florida, and not just in the Sin cities, but anywhere in Florida, in Jacksonville, in Orlando, Tampa, Pensacola, wherever it might be. 2-Egg Florida, we want to help. Okay, now there is a 2-Egg Florida.
I've been there. I've actually preached at
there
2-Egg Baptist Church.
And so for example, when Josh made this commitment, he went through the assessment process for church planters with the North American Mission Board.
Right.
It's a very detailed, just looking into every aspect of the calling, their life, their readiness to do this. And once they completed it successfully, then it triggered support. And the support that it triggers is 4 years of financial support. That's unique. No one else does that but Florida. Okay. Most of the time it's a 2-year support, maybe sometimes 3, but we said, church planting is hard. And we need to stay with these guys as long as we can. Yeah. And so for 4 years, there will be a check that will come directly to Fruit Cove Baptist Church that is divided 50-50 by the Florida Baptist Convention and the North American Mission Board. We have established a fund we call Sin Network Florida. Once a quarter, we put money in. Once a quarter, they put money in, and these checks spin out to churches. Constantly once a month they receive. So they're not waiting on to get a check from us, get a check from them. We brought it together, so it's one check, but it's 4 years of consistent support, and that's been a game changer for us, and a game changer for church planting in Florida. And so our goal is to plant 75 churches a year within the state of Florida. And so if you think about that, if we're supporting 4 years, that would be 300 churches in this formula at a time. And so we know that the investment then would be about a little over $2 million for the Florida Baptist Convention and about $2 million from the North American Mission Board that we both put in equally, and then it is distributed out to the churches. And so we have budgeted accordingly. We positioned ourselves because we're not going to make promises we can't keep, Right. And so that's a pretty strong financial promise. So church planting is a huge part of our Challenge 2025. The second one is the area of church revitalization. While we need to be planting churches, we can't ignore existing churches.
Right.
And we know that there are churches that need encouragement, they need help, they need someone to come in and kind of, work through some processes with them, put systems in place. Sometimes a church just needs a new roof. Yeah. If your roof's leaking, you need some help. You need some help. And so we've committed to being a part of 100 church revitalizations a year.
Oh, wow.
And so last year, just in a COVID year, for example, in spite of COVID, the churches planted 58 churches in the state of Florida in 2020.
Wow.
In a COVID year.
And the goal was 75. So that's amazing.
But we also,
in a COVID year.
but we had that number of planters who went through the assessment, but they're waiting to this year to plant. They didn't plant during COVID. We have one church that started on Easter Sunday last year online. Just online. They did their work and they started online. Yeah. This year on Easter, they had 220 persons at their service.
That's incredible.
So it's amazing what God's doing in church planting. But church planting is multicultural. it's multilingual, it's multi-ethnic, it's multi-generational, and it's multi-locational. And that's who we've got to be as Florida.
That's who Florida
is.
Yeah.
We're not, because there are 300,000 persons a year moving into the state of Florida. And so we've got to be very aggressive in what we do in the area of church planting. But church revitalization, last year we participated in 106 individual churches and some touch of revitalization for them, and so we're very committed to that.
Good.
And so, like for example, here in your region, we have a catalyst who works this region. His name is Craig Colbert.
Yep.
Craig's a member of this church,
Yep,
by the way.
he is,
so
yeah.
y'all got all kind of people here,
you know.
But Craig's job is, his role in ministry. All of our guys, you go to the church, say, how can we help you? And then we figure out how we can come beside them. We don't come saying, this is what you need. We come saying, how can we help you? Mm-hmm. And so when you ask that, we're going to respond as best as we can. And that's a lot of the church revitalization areas. The next one's in the area of baptisms. We believe in believers' baptism and baptism by immersion. We believe that a person is saved and then they're baptized. Yeah. And our churches are incredibly committed to evangelism across the state of Florida. Unapologetically sharing Christ, leading men, women, boys, and girls to salvation, and then baptizing them in the name of the Father, Son, and the Holy Spirit, subsequent to their belief in Christ. And so our goal is to, across the state of Florida, to celebrate 30,000 baptisms from our churches per year. Now, you put that in context, no other state convention is even coming close to 30,000. As a matter of fact, there are only about two, maybe three state conventions that are baptizing more than 20,000.
Wow.
But I've got good news. Florida Baptist churches lead every year, the entire Southern Baptist Convention. 10.5% of all the baptisms reported by the Southern Baptist Convention come through Florida Baptist churches.
Yeah.
Now, that's significant.
That is significant.
And so our churches are committed to this. And so we just want to keep raising the bar higher and higher and doing everything that we can do. For example, recently on our website, flbaptist.org, we put up about 5 different just training components in personal evangelism, how an individual can share their faith. You don't have to have anybody, anybody can go there and look it up, and
That's right.
It's pretty self-explanatory. Yep. And they're unique. Each of them are a little bit different, but they're very clear in how a person can just look at someone and talk to them about what it means to have a personal relationship with Christ. So our goal is 30,000 baptisms per year. The fourth area is in mission engagements. One of the things that I realized when I got in this role in 2015 is that while we talk about missions all the time, we have no way of tracking it. We've never tried to kind of put some kind of context around it that we can celebrate what God's doing in our churches. And so we, this year on the annual church profile that every church will fill out,
Yep.
or not every, but a lot of them do.
A lot of them. Yeah.
We asked a question about mission engagements because we believe that sending is discipleship and going is biblical.
Right.
And so while we've got to do everything we can do here, we've also got to be committed to there. It's both local and global. And so we asked the question on there, how many mission engagements was your church involved in locally, statewide, nationally, and internationally, those 4 areas. Not the number of times you did it, but the number that you did. Okay. And it was phenomenal. During the COVID year, and I hate to keep saying that, but that's where we are.
Yeah.
It's reality. Our churches reported over 35,000 individual mission opportunities. So what that said to me was this: during COVID, when everybody else was shutting down, our churches were busy trying to still minister their communities. They were feeding people. They were doing different types of ministries, anything they could do to just keep making the name of Jesus known within the community. For example, we partnered with a lot of these feeding opportunities, and we had over $30 million of food that was donated to the Florida Baptist Convention. We leveraged it out to the churches, and the churches used it. Over 708 of our churches took the food, and they fed their community and shared Christ. And we've had over 6,500 professions of faith that have been reported just through those food,
through the food giving.
Serving. They came. It was more than just handing them food. They were also praying with them and talking to them about a relationship with Christ. So our churches are on mission, but we want to celebrate that. We want to say, man, look, because baptisms are tied to that. Church revitalization, church planting, all that's applied to that, because if we get people going, they're going to get involved in these other things as well, you know. And then the cooperative program is one of our areas, because we know if we're going to plant 75 churches a year and if we're going to be involved in 100, I mean, there's a price tag that comes with that. And so we have determined, you know, what that number is, and we pray by the year 2025 that our cooperative program will grow to $33 million. And that will fully subscribe everything that is found within, you know, what God has put before us to do. And then we also take a state mission offering. It's called the McGuire State Mission Offering, and Fruit Cove gives generously to that. When I was a pastor in Florida since 1996, okay, and I got all the materials, and I believe if I could have gone back to 1996 and found the materials that I received them and compared them to what I received the last year I was a pastor of a local church, there wasn't a whole lot of change in it. And so, you know, we were just giving money to basically just keep things propped up and going. And so we said, look, we've got to make this offering much more strategic, much more intentional. So let's look at what's in there. If it's mission critical, put it in the budget. If it's not, then let it roll off the table, and it's gone away. And then we made the McGuire State Mission Offering 100% to plant churches in Florida.
Wow. So
any church giving anywhere in the state to the McGuire State Mission Offering is contributing to planting those 75 churches a year within our state. And so, you know, not only do we just support them in terms of resources that we give directly to the sending church or the sponsor church or the mother church or the home church, whatever phrase you use, but we do other things for planters as well. I mean, we do all kind of planter support, and we do things for their families. Because church planting is hard, and we want to stand beside. I mean, matter of fact, just as we were walking over today, we met with a church planter. I was on an airplane with him just a few days ago, and he was telling me about they finally found a building to go into, and they're going to lease some space or whatever. Well, I mean, it was very easy to look at him and say, brother, look, we want to help with this. And so we got money coming to him to help them make that transition. So there's always those things that we can do to help strengthen, you know, these new churches that are being planted all around our state. So that's kind of encapsulates what Challenge 2025 is. And again, it's not what the convention's doing, it's what our churches are already doing. Now we're just kind of bringing it all together and putting systems in place to support every one of those, you know, every one that a church is involved in, we want to help them with.
And this is one of the reasons I love being a Florida Baptist, because we're just doing so much for the gospel. And, you know, originally we started out the episode saying, hey, let's talk about some ways that our families can be involved. But I think based on what we're already hearing, like, you are involved. Every dollar that you give to our church, a portion of that goes to cooperative program, then goes to the state convention, then it goes to missions. Like, all these churches that have been planted, all these people who are being baptized, the seminaries, the different events that we're hosting as a state convention, you're a part of that. Your family gets to be a part of that. There are plenty of opportunities. If you go to our missions webpage at Fruit Cove Baptist Church, especially if you're one of our members, you need to check us out. You need to see what is going on that you can possibly go to, what you can give to, and absolutely above all things, what you can be praying for. These things are just absolutely critical, and again, this is one of my favorite episodes that we get to do, because it's talking about what we're doing for the cause of Christ as Florida Baptists.
Yeah, and Jason, I mean, you know, of course, that just scratches the surface. I mean, you know, we're deeply involved in collegiate ministry. We have on every major campus, we have a presence there, you know, with a person who's there trying to reach those students and point them to local churches and do that. We're involved with migrant ministry. I mean, we have a huge migrant ministry across the state of Florida. We have planted churches that are planted for the specific reason of reaching the migrant community as they travel across the state. We're huge in disaster relief, and we live in Florida. You better be ready, because something's going to happen, you know. And we have incredible volunteers. They're going through training right now. I tell them every time, y'all keep training and keep praying that nothing happens, because sometimes they go through training and they want to put it into practice. I'm like, I just assume you never put it into practice, but be trained and be ready, because we know we're going to have things happen in Florida.
But even if it doesn't happen in Florida, I know
it's going to happen in other places.
It's gone in Louisiana. It's gone to Texas, whatever the disaster happens to be, Florida Baptists are there.
We send teams there.
Yeah.
That's right. And we attack it in multiple levels. So we try to get the churches up and operational as quick as we can. So we have resources, because a lot of churches, they don't have resources to pay their deductible for their insurance. So we cover that so they can kind of get started, rebuilding, doing whatever. And then you have the feeding and the tarping and the cleanup. I mean, it's a pretty comprehensive work, and it's an all-in work. When it happens, I mean, it's consuming.
You're there. Yeah.
It's consuming.
I know in Panama City it was very
it
big
was
just a few years ago.
devastating.
Yeah. And a lot of our churches participated in the disaster relief, in the evangelism, and now Florida Baptist, the name Florida Baptist in Panama City means something to a lot of people that it probably never would have.
And we partnered churches with churches during that time, and Fruit Cove partnered with the church there, and it was a huge blessing for them. And so we try to layer it in every way that we can, and as you said, churches being, members being involved with there, Fruit Cove was involved with a church over there that got devastated, with the hurricane, and you guys were there multiple times, doing work there at that local church.
I'm going to have to stop. We could keep going. I mean, we really could. I love talking about missions. I love talking about Florida Baptist. We're definitely going to have to do some follow-up episodes. But again, if you want to get involved, you can go to the Florida Baptist Convention's website. You can just Google them. You're going to find out. You can go to the Florida Baptist Witness. If you just want to stay up to date, you can subscribe to the newsletter just so you can see what news is happening with Florida Baptist that you get to be a partner with. Again, for mission trips and things like that to partner around our state, you can go to our website, to our missions page. And again, if you have any questions you'd like to interact with us here at the Parent Life Podcast, please reach out at parentlife@fruitcove.com. We'd love to interact with you. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.